Welcome to Sigulda in Latvia, the final race weekend of the BMW IBSF bobsleigh and skeleton regular season. After this, we head to Altenburg for the World Championships. But first, the only elevated start, roller coaster, and the European Championships await. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Alongside me is Leslie Stratton. Leslie, you've been training on this track just today for the weekend skeleton races. It's short, 1,200 metres, but boy, is it busy.
It has a personality for sure. Yeah, quick runs here, fairly short. You're looking at about 50 to 55 seconds for skeleton. So yeah, start ramp fairly long. It's actually pretty wide going into corner one. As Martin was saying, you have to go 5 floors up to get to it. So when you're looking down, it's a view for sure. Taking you into corner 2. Big sweeping corner into corner 3 and then corner 4. The top of the track is more like a labyrinth, very tight corners, tight transitions, kind of like a Lake Placid highway situation. Now we're going into 8, 9. 9, 10 are 2 rights, and then you're going to go into 11, 12, which are 2 left-hand corners. This is where the track really starts to pick up. 11, 12, 13 can be brutal on the exit, so definitely look for that. 14, very long straightaway. You think about everything you've ever done in your life in the straightaway. Into corner 15, another big uphill, and then finish Kreisel, which is a unique aspect of this track. Only track that has it.
Yeah, the track goes up to cross itself going into the Kreisel there, and yeah, it's sort of almost like an afterthought. Oh, we need a Kreisel. Oh, damn, we've designed the track. Right, we'll put it at the end. But it is busy, as you say. You know, from that view, you just see it's corner, 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 corner until you get to about corner 12, and then it starts to cool down a little. Our World Cup points leader, Humphries, is not here. So assuming it's Stephanie Schneider, Mariam Umanka, Christine de Brown and all the others actually start, who are here, Kaylee will not win the Crystal Globe this season. However, Mariam Umanka, who's in 3rd place in the points, if she wins it, Stephanie Schneider needs to finish in the top 3 to take the title from her. Schneider is 2nd in the points. Umanka, who's closest to the camera here, is in 3rd position. Behind them, Christine de Brown, by no means out of the equation either. Were she to win it and the 2 top German girls to finish off the podium, then that would bring all sorts of second heat maths in, which we had to make life a little bit complicated. Last year's race was the first in World Cup history, in fact, for women's bobsleigh, so that's what we have to go on. Last year's race winner was Mariam Umanka, but in training yesterday, the final day of training, her teammate Stephanie Schneider was absolutely flying. Well, we have 13 sleds in the entry list, but only 12 will start. Margot Bock and Carla Seneschal of France have had to withdraw for illness reasons. They don't have any spares in the team, no spare driver, no spare brakewoman. I'm not sure which one of them is ill, but when you're down to only one person in a 2-man sled, that doesn't cut it. Final women's bobsleigh race of the season, and a debut for Melanie Hessler and Yasmin Neff of Switzerland. Martin Haven and Leslie Stratton watching the action here in Sigulda.
Yeah, what a track to have your World Cup debut on this. Like I said, this track has a lot of personality, so she should be looking to put together some good lines and show the world what she has to offer.
Oh, it's so busy up here, isn't it? Seen a lot of skids in these first few corners before you get down to the big corner 6.
Yeah, it's going to look, to viewers at home, it's going to look rough, no matter how smooth you do it. So if it looks rough, it might actually be quick, and you'll learn that the more sleds that come down.
But the good news is, on an unprotected skeleton sled, you find out very quickly it is rough.
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
Over the long straight from 14 to 15. Clatters the wall as well, and into corner 16. 2 and a bit pressures. Hard to get the last pressure right. She actually comes across the line without a skid. Saw a lot of sleds skidding out to the final corner, hitting the wall on the inside, the short wall on the inside, as well in the final day of training. So welcome to the World Cup. 21-year-old Melanie Hessler and 22-year-old brakewoman Yasmin Neff. They got a silver medal here in one of the 2 Europa Cup races in January, just 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I bet that feels awesome for them. Get the first World Cup run under their belt. She put together a pretty good run. Obviously up top, a little rough, but once she got into it, the bottom corners looked pretty good.
Yeah, you will see everybody skidding there. There is no way around it, I'm afraid. 4-season driving for Melanie Hassler. And in the bronze medal position in the race here last year, it was the season opener last year, it's the season closer this year, 26-year-old Anna Kola. This is Anna's 16th World Cup start, and one of 2 bronze medals last year. This is her first World Cup race of this season. She was a regular last year. Behind her, Tamara Sear. Now, you may have raced against Tammy. She started in bobsleigh. She raced for 4 seasons as a skeleton slider, came back to bobsleigh. So Tamara Sear, 30 years old, in her 2nd bobsleigh career.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I recognize that name.
Yeah. Her only World Cup start before was in Sochi with Stephanie Schurek.
Yeah, definitely look for the Germans on every track. They're a threat, and they've been successful here in the past, so I'm sure they'll follow that up today.
Yeah, the German teams swapping in and out a few athletes. No Kim Kalicki, who started the season in the German women's program in North America. She's just won the Junior World Championship, so she will be at the Worlds. She gets a free entry as the Junior World Champion.
Yeah, great line so far. Through curve 11 into curve 12 and then through 13. This is where people can have a little bit of troubles, and she pulls it out. Very smooth, very smooth.
500s behind the rookie from Switzerland. Ooh, big height there.
And like I said, the straightaways at the bottom really make you contemplate everything, and she put that together very nicely.
Well, she managed to dig the fat out of the fire there. Like I said, she was a regular in last year's World Cup team, didn't make the World Cup at the beginning of the season or after the Christmas selections, and she did at least have 700s in hand over Melanie Hassler, the rookie from Switzerland. But that may not be Anna Kola's best drive. Valentine's Day today. I'm sure everybody here and around the world is wishing their loved ones lots of good fortune, lots of love.
I was just going to say that it's a great time to throw a heart up there at the finish line. Very fitting, very fitting. Yeah, so you see the straightaway here. Clearly runner tips pointing straight, very much in control. You can tell she's really taking advantage of the trip she's had on this track.
Yeah. Lots of height down in the bottom corner. And it's on a bobsleigh, it looks too precious and just a tiny little bit more than that. It's almost trying to take you for a third pressure if you're not careful.
Yeah. It's a fun surprise there at the end sometimes.
Always fun surprise to get an extra pressure thrown in. 5th World Cup start for Alina Osipenko. Now, she is the outgoing junior world champion, won that title last year. 26 years old now, so she's the 2019 Europa Cup champion as well, won the Europa Cup title last season before stepping up to the Worlds this year. Julia Schocksraver behind her. Julia in her 28th World Cup start as a brake woman.
Yeah, one thing to note, Martin and I were actually talking about this right before the broadcast. The Russians actually, proximity-wise, are very close to this track in Sigulda, so they have had a lot of runs here, and historically they've done well here, or last year they did great here.
Yep.
So I'm sure we'll see that today.
Yeah, this is their home track. They have the track, of course, in Sochi, where Luge World Championships are this week, I think. But they spend much more time, and always have done, training here.
Yeah, she's putting together a great run so far. Very smooth, as you can see, compared to the other sleds. You can tell she knows where she is.
Very late. Wow.
Commentator's curse.
Yeah. You do not want to get early off 11 and into 12. Therein lies all sorts of trouble. She got away with that. Stephanie Schneider crashed in the first heat of last year's race, and she was battling for the lead. 51.47 slide, 900s ahead of Anna Kola.
Yeah, that could attribute some to that local track knowledge. Clearly she knows the lines that you need to hit, and she was able to pull it off. I get that.
She missed most of them, I think. She knows what she should have been doing, but she got out. Let's take a look at this. That is high and late.
Yep. Oh, those are good images. Woo.
Yeah.
Man.
That came back to her, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it makes her heart stop a little bit, but good on her. Fight or flight, as you always learn.
Yeah. I'm going with luck rather than judgment on that one. A little smile from Elena. There's Julia Schockschwaber. Yeah, scared the living daylights out of us as well, and we were just watching. Fourth of our sleds here, last year's silver medalist. Still her best career women's bobsleigh result, Nadezhda Sergeeva. And today she's got 25-year-old brakewoman Elena Mamedova behind her. Elena making her 7th World Cup start, Nadezhda her 47th.
Yeah, she did very well here last year. We'll be looking to see her do really well here this year as well.
First of all, let's see what they got to start. 5.37, so that's a 10th quicker than we've seen so far.
Yeah, historically great starters, great starting team, no matter what brakeman she has behind her, and she just showed that right there.
Best velocity as well, 54 kilometers an hour out of first speed trap, 2/10 up already.
Yeah, these corners are looking really smooth, and she's really in a rhythm right now, so should help her build towards the bottom of the track.
Speed is good, almost a kilometer an hour quicker than Osipenko at that stage. The Russian sleds are quicker than the German sleds at the moment.
There we go, a little rough off the exit of 14 there, but sometimes it works.
Oh, right up in the woodwork. Goodness gracious.
Hold it off, though.
Yeah. Well,
off.
did she have to haul it off? That's the question. 50.99, a brand new track record. That's fantastic for Nadezhda Sergeeva of Russia. Look at the way she leaps out of the sled. She's so excited about that.
She is. You could tell at the top of the track she really had that rhythm and that flow going, and the more that you can hold it together at the top, the more your speed builds and the more you're rewarded at the bottom, even with these mistakes.
Yeah, just a fraction late there. She didn't get a big skid, just had the little tap down the straight. But watch the way the sled climbs right up to the roof.
Yeah, 2 kilometers an hour faster than the next sled, the second place sled behind her too. So clearly that worked out.
Nadezhda.
Killer run, killer.
Yeah, now that is a good shot at a podium. What about Andrea Grecu of Romania? Her 16th World Cup as a driver, her 36th in all after her braking career, with Yana Georgia behind her in her 2nd World Cup start. Yana started bobsledding in November. 2018 Junior World Champion, and she has just tied up the Europa Cup title for this season as well.
Yeah, for your viewers back home, you just saw their coach clear off their shoes. Just a random note, the shoes actually have almost 400 needles at the bottom.
Yeah.
So you have to clean those off every run. You'll get ice in them. Running on ice is challenging enough, and if you have snow in it, it doesn't usually go well. So always make sure they're clean before you take off.
5:32 getaway, so that's the fastest of the competition so far.
Little rough transitions up at the top here. Going into the labyrinth section, into the bigger curves at the bottom.
Now this might be the close track to Romania in Eastern Europe, but the Romanian team and Paul Niagu, their boss, based in Winterberg, so they know that track very well. And just got good form here, won both Europa Cup races here just 3 weeks ago.
Just 0.03 of a second back. She's putting together a great run.
Again, to see Sergeeva on the podium would be good. To see Grecu on the podium here would be great as well. 51.02, still the strongest 2 German sliders yet to come. Plus Katy Bile, plus Martina Fonteneve, Christine de Bruin of Canada. So by no means sealed into a podium yet. The 1, 2, 3 is Sergeeva, Grecu and Osipenko.
Fastest start time we've seen so far too, by 0.05 of a second. That definitely helped her on the way down.
And just an odd physique to be such a fast starter. She was always a fast brakewoman, but she looks tall and slender, and she's you know, not a big, powerful brakewoman, but she does get great speed.
Yeah, we always joke, work smarter, not harder. So sometimes if you have the technique and that skill and you can put the power into the sled, you combine those together, and you can produce great results.
Watch out for her super low heel return in the second push. Lolo Jones will be very keen on that. Nadezhda Sergeeva, the leader, from Andrea Grecu and Elena Osipenko. 6 of our sleds is Christine de Bruin with Kristen Bushanovsky behind her. The Canadians did not race here before. 3 silver medals and a bronze in her World Cup career for Christine. 26th start for her.
Yeah, great looking sled. I really like the black. I think it looks really slick, but also a great team. They're always medal favorites on every track that they go to.
She's had a really strong season, currently lying 4th in the World Cup rankings.
Yeah, putting together some great corners at the top. We're going into the 7, 8, 9 transition here. Smaller curves, kind of an on-off section, and then into the war zone, we call it, towards the bottom, starting at curve 11.
Far less skiddy in the first couple of sleds we saw, but then she's got good experience. Again, only 6 trips down this track to learn it. 1200s behind. And that was a big hit. Kristen Buzhnowski pulls on the brakes before they get into the final corner. And that could end up with an instant disqualification. Lyndon Rush can't believe it. The hit was so hard on the wall, Kristen thought they'd slammed out of the finish corner.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the 6 runs you were talking about, the lack of experience there. Sometimes you just don't know where you are, and you guess.
What can you do? You know, the hit was so hard. I'm sure she thought, that's it, we're out of the final corner, sat up immediately, hauled on the brakes, and by the time she's looked past her driver to see where they are, too late, damage is done.
Yeah, I've actually never seen that before, so that was some very interesting images there at the bottom. Yeah, you can see her pull the brakes going into that finish kreisel.
Well, in the old days, you used to have to brake before a number of corners on most tracks, but these days, it is not a good thing. So, the time is good enough to leave her in 3rd place, 2400s back. And we're going to have to wait and see what the jury decide about that. I can't remember having seen it in a World Cup race. So we will see exactly what happens after this heat. Next up, Martina Fonteneve of Switzerland's 23rd World Cup start. Was here in training last year, did not start the race. Martina with Nadia Pasternak behind her.
Yeah, so as you can see at the start there, the groove lengths are actually quite long. I've heard they're longer than past years, which is definitely an advantage, especially for bobsled drivers, to get into the sled and grab into the D-rings to be able to drive.
Big hit. And all of that costs you time. It's really quite busy immediately, isn't it? But there's not a lot of pressure early on because the track actually doesn't really accelerate till corner 6.
Yeah, it's more of a finesse at the top. Oh no! Pulled it off though. Ooh, that was a close one.
Come on. Well, again, Martina has had one race here in Europa Cup back in 2016. You saw through the visor there, eyes like saucers. This place properly gets your attention. You also saw on the straightaway there the big gouges that the brakes had left.
Yeah, unfortunately that leaves her 6/10ths back from that big mistake. So she'll be looking to move up second run.
Well, she may move up automatically. Christina Brown in 3rd place at the moment, but Martina shakes her head. And even Nadia in the back is kind of looking around going, wow, what happened there?
Yeah, you can, when you walk the track, you can look onto the walls, the short walls, and see, are there crevices, is there marks, and you can kind of see where people are having issues, something to look at on the track walk, and that's definitely an area where a lot of people have been having issues.
Well, it doesn't get early height, and the height is very late there as she comes off, and again here, very late height, and almost goes right up to the roof, just has to haul it back down.
Yeah, at the bottom there, you're doing something in every corner. You're really ripping out those steers, so that makes you have to do it even more, which good on her for pulling it off.
Yep, got them down safely. So she is ahead of her teammate, Melanie Hasler, and the gap between them is 0.05 of a second. Next up, Kati Beil of Austria, 28th World Cup start for Kati. And this is the European Championships as well. Kati Beil was the European bronze medalist last season.
Yeah, when you're at the start too, standing five floors in the air, you can actually see the finish if you look through the shades, which can be kind of intimidating, but also really neat at the same time. Depends how you are with heights.
5:38, good start, only 100th behind current leader Nadezhda Sergeeva of Russia. So the only sled in the field that would not qualify for the European Championships would be Christina Brown.
Yeah, she's putting together some great corners at the top, only a small hit before 6, small hit before 4 as well.
Little late flop, but 100 kilometers an hour is decent speed.
Yeah, and she's gaining. which is great. Only 400ths of a second at the last split.
Top 3 run perhaps coming up for Kati Bausch. Finished in 7th last year.
Commentator's curve.
Yeah. Even as I was thinking about saying the words, it was breaking loose.
Can't even think about it.
Across the line, 4th place, and how far behind? 1500ths out of top 3, but again, I have to say, I'm not sure that Christine de Bruin gets a second heat.
Yeah, 120 speed is a bit down on speed compared to Sergeeva. It's about 4 kilometers an hour slower, which you can tell happened with that skid there at the bottom.
Just give me 1 second.
Yes, you see out of 14 here, you see the big skid at the beginning of the straightaway. Sometimes it's faster to just hit the wall, get your runners pointed straight, which you saw there. Going into curve 15, curve 15 can really bite you. So she corrected it the best that she could, and yeah, I think she was rewarded at the bottom there with less of a time gap.
Yeah, but another heat. And still a good shout for a podium here, until maybe we've heard from our top 2 German sliders. So first up, Stephanie Schneider, 29 years old, former brakewoman, now exceeding anything as a driver that she did as a brakewoman. And behind her, Lisette Turner. Lisette now 31, her 11th season for the German bobsleigh team. Calls herself the granny of the team because she's the only one over 30.
It's incredible. I'm sure the younger athletes really enjoy learning from her. It's always nice to have somebody with experience.
And she does as well. You know, she came back last season. She'd had a couple of seasons away with some pretty major injuries and just wanted to get back into the squad.
Yeah, clearly pushing great.
Yeah.
So that's great. Small hit before 4, as you see on your screens, but very nice transition into curve 6.
Well, this is another neat and tidy run. She was absolutely on fire in the final day of practice on Thursday.
Ooh, pulls it off there into the luge ramp.
Well, she's going to have to break the track record to take the lead. She's still in the red, 800s back. Speed is not as good as Sergeeva. She's about 1 kilometer an hour down, and mistakes. Oh! Backed it in, and the sled just tapped the wall and headed straight for the roof. She had to really haul it off there, yeah.
Yeah, luckily, that mistake at the bottom is a good place to make a mistake compared to the other.
700ths off the lead, a 51.06. That could have been a leading run. Word in from Coach Tuffy Latour, Dave Bissett braking for Pierre Luders in Park City in the World Cup around 2008, hauled the anchors on out of turn 14.
That's another track with a long straightaway right before the last curve.
But yeah, that's nearly a decade and a quarter ago, so who knows what the rules are now.
Yeah, you can see the waves here in Kreisel. That makes your heart stop a little bit.
Yeah, and you have to steer so hard when the sled just goes straight to the woodwork like that. There's Lisette. Stephanie's struggling to get her helmet off.
Yeah, as a driver, when you see, at least in skeleton, you see the roof, you're like, don't come closer, please go away.
Yeah.
Especially towards the bottom in those higher pressure curves.
Mariamia Manka, last year's race winner, and the stat about last year's race was it was her first ever World Cup race win. Her only previous other win at the senior level had been the Olympic Games, but everybody had said, when are you going to win a race? Well, she came out of the box last year, won the first one.
Yeah, what a cool place to win your first race.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
5.40, not a bad start for her with Elina Nolte behind her. Elina, another long-serving member of the German team.
Yeah, winning your first race in Sigulda, I'm sure too there's a lot of similarities between here and Altenburg. And having success in Altenburg will, of course, help you adjust to a track like Sigulda.
Yeah. Well, she got out, she came and did a finish interview, and she said, I've just realised it's my first ever race win. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, putting together obviously some great lines. You'd expect nothing less from an Olympic champion.
Again, another late flop, a fraction behind Sergeeva. The speed's not quite there. Let's see what she's got at the bottom. Sergeeva 124, 123.9. How close will she get at the line? 300s back. So she was doing less speed than Sergeeva, but still closed somehow. So the speed is a fraction of the total performance, so maybe just a slightly neater line through the final corner. And she is 300ths off the lead, tied with Andrea Grecu of Romania.
Yeah, for you viewers back home, you can see towards the bottom, the oscillations, the big pressures in the corners, the rises and drops were a bit less than some of the other sleds, and less rises and drops means less meters.
Yep.
And the less meters you have in the track, the faster you will go and the faster you'll get to the finish line.
Well, it also makes the track slightly less long than for some of the others. And when we're measuring in hundredths of a second, a few centimetres here or there do make a difference. Now, Jesna Sergeeva still leads. Mariama Yamanka and Andrea Grecu tied for second. 700ths of a second cover our top 4 sleds. What about Anne van Nieuwenhuis? She finished in 6th place last year. A World Cup debut behind her for 20-year-old brakewoman Kelly van Petegem. And Kelly, so there's Sarah Ertz at the back. Sarah nursing an injury. They're trying to keep her fit for the Worlds. Kelly raced in Junior Worlds last week in Winterberg with Loes Herbrecht, another former brakewoman. Got a bit beaten up, but she stepped into the void today. 5:54 getaway.
That's great, a great place to get some experience as a brakeman. Also, too, looking at the start, I think on the last camera you saw the background. So the bobsled's actually park for me where you prep your sled. It's actually down below, and then you have to take a bobsled elevator to get to the top just for a little vantage point.
It's a great feature of the track that you have to ride the elevator with your sled up to the start. Ooh. So 11th fastest start. They're up to 9th place now, so overhauling the Swiss sleds.
Yeah, great lines through the bottom section there. A little bit of trouble in 11, but
she only did 2 days of practice because neither brakewoman was fit to push yesterday, so missed out on 2 of the 6 trips. Ducks ahead at the line, 8th place, 51.51.
Yeah, she moved up from her start time, which is great. 11th fastest start time and 8th fastest run. She should be excited.
And only 400ths behind Elena Osipenko, whose home track this is effectively.
Yeah, it'll be really exciting. Second run, this track has a lot of little nuances, so the one who can put the 2 cleanest runs together will be rewarded, and it's pretty close right now.
Again, little heavy exit, and she'll be thinking about that as she gets ready for the second run, trying to tidy up some of the errors. She had a few more questions than answers after her truncated training.
Yeah, that line to the woodwork is making me nervous, but everyone's doing it, so I like it. I'm here for it.
Yeah, got away with it.
Yeah.
See, it really is like coming off a roller coaster. If it didn't crash you, then you're sort of laughing and giggling at the bottom. And nursing your bruises. Well, with no Margot Bock and Carla Seneschal of France, we get to our final sled, Lubov Chernik. 4th place last year, just off the podium for the young Russian. Now 24 years old. Junior European champion this year. And silver in the Junior Worlds last weekend in Winterberg. Let's see if she can put herself in amongst the medals. I think she's got a good shot.
Yeah, I'm sure being Russian and having a decent amount of runs on this track, it's really exciting to be able to race here and to put together two smooth and clean runs.
Yulia Belomesnik, her brakewoman, 31 years old, very experienced. Little tap there. Only 5th fastest velocity, but they had the 8th fastest start, so they carried speed.
Yeah, putting together some great lines to this upper labyrinth section into curve 10 and then big corner 11.
Ooh, rocks and rolls down from 11 into 12.
And a 14 into this long straightaway here, and she seems to be keeping it straight, which is really important in that lower section.
Not too bad, but she's, a kilometre and a half down on Sergeeva. Saw her just playing with the steering there to straighten the sled. 8th at the start, 8th at the line, 51.50. Well, that's not the Lubov Chernik of last year. Got one more run to go, but she needs to find a big margin. She's basically half a second out of the lead, which is half a second out of the battle for the medals. Top 4 covered by 700ths.
Yeah, she'll definitely be looking to move up second run, but a lot of good things happening. Of course, a lot of, not so good, as you saw right there, but a lot of good things to build off of, and she's experienced here, so I'm sure the little mistakes she can come back from.
200s behind teammate, 300s behind teammate Elena Osipenko, 100th ahead of Anne van Nieuwenhuis. That's not a big Lubov Chernik smiley face.
Yeah, unfortunately, no, but that's why there's 2 runs. We can get it back.
Yeah, he kind of tried to have 2 good ones, though. A great first run and a track record to start Nadezhda Sergeeva on the hunt for her first ever World Cup win. Can she claim the top step of the podium for the very first time? Last year's silver medalist leads after the first of our 2 heats. But it is a tight battle, and it is far from over. That's half the job done. The second half is going to be the tough bit, I think, for Nadezhda Sergeeva. She's got the world Olympic and European champion Mariama Yamanka 300s behind her. Yamanka tied with Angia Greco, and Stephanie Schneider 700s back, looking to try and win the Crystal Globe. She has got to beat Yamanka or finish no worse than 3rd if Yamanka wins it. So there's 2 races going on, in addition to which the winner of this race will become the European champion. So that is our runners and riders after the first heat. We'll wait to see exactly what the jury decide about Christine de Bruin and the preemptive braking. We will be back with the sleds at 7:30 local, which is 17:30 Greenwich Mean Time. Join Leslie Stratton and me, Martin Haven, with the IBSF TV crew for the final run of the regular season in just a short while.